Right, have we got Bryn there? Hello, Bryn, are you right?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's been a long old day again, but it's very nice to see you.
No, while I've been waiting and hanging on Emma's every words, I was like making copious notes here, Emma, in terms of the emphasis on creativity and the arts and drama and music. It's not just about PE and sport and physical activity. So thank you for that.
I've learned so much more about movement and activity, not just sport, over the last couple of days. I feel like I've had a proper education, proper update in my skills and knowledge, so thank you. Right, Bryn, you're going to talk to us about taking learning outside, aren't you?
Yeah, one of the questions was about why do we sit to learn? Well, we do need to sit to learn. Maybe we sit a little bit too much. So I'm going to share some slides with you, and then hopefully
Brilliant.
The narrative will explain.
I feel like I'm top of the class already because I'm stood up. So thank you, Bryn. Off we go.
Okay, let's have it loading up. Okay, I would hasten to add, I've just been working with a school in Wakefield, which is probably the shortest commute I've ever done recently. So it's only 13 minutes to the school and back. And the reason why I was asked to go into the school was that their leadership team decided that each class needs an extra 30 minutes of mathematics every day. So the idea was to take the mathematics out every day using different resources. So yeah, first slide, you're probably looking at that and thinking that looks a little bit like Train Spotting. For anybody who's a little bit too young out there, Train Spotting was a book and a film about drug addiction in Edinburgh. You might be thinking, why is he sharing something like that at an event like this? Well, Professor Simon Shibley at Sheffield Hallam University said to me, Bryn, you need to think like a drug dealer. You need to have something that's going to hook them in and keep them coming back for more and more and more. And then I looked in terms of the chief medical officer, and one of the quotes from them was, if physical activity was a drug, we'd refer to it as the miracle cure due to the great many illnesses it can prevent and help treat. So physical activity is my drug of choice. So my mission, working with teachers, school leaders, other organisations, is about bringing about physically active learning. And physically active learning is referred to a lot as active learning. I like to refer to it as moving and learning. So it's merging movement with learning together. And how do we do that? We use different resources in different using different approaches in different environments. And as Emma's already said, it's about changing culture, changing mindset, changing ethos. And the environment section is interesting. So my background was a PE lead in a primary school, then you become the deputy head teacher, the acting head teacher, still a member of the NAHT, the National Association of Head Teachers, and myself and a colleague, we went to the NAHT conference a few years ago and made a motion proposal that maybe schools could look towards active learning solutions. 9 out of 10 head teachers said, yes, we'll do it. The reporting in the Independent was really good. The Telegraph not so good, because they said with a leading headline was, let them run around the classrooms, head teachers urged. I looked at Ian looked at me, and we thought, we never said that, but that's the way the press reported it. I then made the mistake of looking at the online comments. So for the next 15 minutes, you're in the company of a man who is insane, an idiot, and a man who is the epitome of everything that is wrong with the education system. Dr. Andy Daly-Smith from Leeds Beckett University went and answered every single one of those online comments with research and science, and nobody came back to him. Let's see why. So a little bit of a backstory. This is me when I was at school. I was one of those kids that didn't really go to school for the right reasons. I went to school just to hang around with my mates and play football at playtime. And I think some of that was down to the fact that I was one of those kids who was looking out the window all the time, sitting, okay? And I think nowadays we've got some great pioneering school leaders, teachers and schools who are willing to take the learning outside. So why? What are the education issues? Well, many schools have got an approach that has been dictated to. So we have a narrow curriculum. Certain children are subsisting on a sole diet of English and mathematics and English. And studying to the test might work for some, it certainly doesn't work for all. If you think about it, our bodies are designed to move, not to sit. So What are the health issues? We've got more children leaving school classified as obese or overweight. We've got younger generations becoming obese at earlier ages and staying obese for longer. And then if you look in terms of the stats between the rich and the poor areas, it's the poor areas where the prevalence of obesity is higher. Globally, at least 50% of children are deemed insufficiently active, and in certain westernized countries that figure is 80%. During lockdowns 1, 2 and 3, there was various reports from Sport England and Ofsted, and I think that there is a massive gulf now between the children who had access to the gardens and the parks and the children who didn't, and I would say that that figure has probably risen during lockdowns 1, 2 and 3. Prior to that, we had a lot of research looking at the levels of physical activity, and early years, key stage 1, we were fine. We were getting the requisite amount of physical activity, but age 7, something dramatic happens. The trajectory starts to decline. One teacher in Bradford, it's down to phonics screening, it's down to key stage 1 SATs. Well, I'm not sure what school she was at and what it was like, but I would think it's probably more likely to be the addiction to the digital devices, age 7. That's when it starts causing the problems. Oh, the benefits of physical activity are well known. You know, it makes you feel good. Yeah, it helps us maintain a healthy weight. It improves the health and fitness, strengthens muscles and bones, and it improves sleep patterns. And as well as that, the academics are now proving that if you're physically active, you're more able to absorb and retain information. So when I talk about physical activity, it's not sport and it's not PE. I mean, traditionally, we've gone down that route in terms of PE and sport, sport and PE. But will it really engage all children, or will it just engage the children who were already sporty and into PE? And I've got a picture there of Joe, bless him. I mean, he did get the nation off their backsides. I don't think he was the nation's PE teacher. It was a series of hit sessions, but he got families, children off their backsides, off the sofa and being active. So physically active learning isn't sport and it isn't PE, though it sounds kind of like pinches parts of it. So I'm going to share some research into one physically active learning solution, which is Tagtivate. And when people ask me to describe it, I say it's a combination of TIG or tag or it, the ultimate playground game, meeting Scrabble or maybe Countdown, or maybe tag rugby meets maths, tag rugby meets English. And the tags that we use are the building blocks. They're like Lego building blocks. They're colourful and the children can play and work with them. Oh, does it work? Of course it works. It works with everybody from early years foundation stage into children in key stage 1 and key stage 2. It works with mathematics, whether or not it's number bonds or place value, whether or not it's ordering numbers or multiples or prime numbers or square numbers. It works. Does it work with English? Of course it does. And I know we've got some gorgeous, colourful tags there, but with a bit of creativity, you could use Scrabble tiles just as easily. And the tags and the way that we work with the schools, we've got a gorgeous school up on the doorstep in Leeds called Parklands Primary School, and the children there learning about Elmer and the Gruffalo, linking the phonics, linking the spelling to the story, to the narrative, to the characters, to the settings. And then further up the school, we were trialling some work with the Chronicles of Narnia, looking at dictionary work and all those high-level word thinking things that we have to look at. Does it work? Of course it works. We even used the roll-up belts for punctuation, and that wasn't my idea. This was the idea of the children, and sometimes I think we forget how creative the children can be. So I thought, if it works with English, will it work with another subject? So I took the games over to Helsinki. Helsinki's in Finland. I should have done my research. I thought that everybody would speak Finnish. I ended up in one of 20 Swedish-speaking schools. A couple of pivots later, we worked out that we can turn the tags, the activity, into learning Finnish as well as Swedish. Does it work with history, geography and science? Of course it does. Who knew that active learning could impact on knowledge organisers? This emphasis on a knowledge-rich curriculum, we can bring it out and the discussions are there for all to see. We can even use it to evaluate how the PE lesson's going. How is the PE and the sport impacting on how the children feel, how they behave? How does it make them more confident? So we need the initial evidence, and the initial evidence comes with the smiles and the anecdotes. With physically active learning, you don't get a chance to get bored, you don't get a chance to zone out. Or maybe dressing up the English lesson as a PE lesson. Or maybe looking in terms of how do you engage the children who are disengaged. That's Cian from Keithley. If ever there was a reluctant learner, that was Cian. And it's about transforming attitudes, whether or not you're a child. I used to think I was rubbish at maths, but now I know I'm not. Or maybe a teacher realising, I never knew he could do that. Or maybe a school leader seeing that the physically active learning engages all, even the most reluctant of learners. So yes, we've got the smiles and yes, we've got the anecdotes, but it's about proving impact, demonstrating impact with research. So this is Dr. Andy Daly-Smith from Leeds Beckett University, and his first round of research was so good, it went to Nesta. Nesta gave it level 5 for the Activate programme. And the progress that the children made was pretty cute. Not massive, but we're talking about marginal gains. Think of Brailsford and Team Sky. Marginal gains repeated become substantial gains over time. And it was those children who were deemed the less academic. They were the ones that made the best progress in terms of fluency and accuracy in mathematics. This is where it works as well as it plays. And it's not just Andy's research. There's lots of links there to global research. And the World Health Organization, and there's a recent one, the 18th of February of this year, talks about the impact of physical activity on enhancing academic achievement in schools. So if you're a school and you're going down that recovery route, that catch-up route, don't exclude physical activity. Physical activity can be used to enhance your academic achievement. So how do you get buy-in from your school's SLT? Well, Andy and myself shared our presentation, our findings at a TEDx talk, so please check that out. It made sense to us at the time. Hopefully it'll make sense to you when you watch it. 12 minutes. And now we're talking about a wider reopening of school, and we've got a gorgeous image here of KISS. Keep it simple and keep it safe. So during lockdown 1 and 2, we had a lot of information from DFE, and one of the statements was outdoor sport should be prioritised where possible. I'd say let's not just confine it to sport. Let's do outdoor learning and prioritise outdoor learning where possible. And then there was a reference to active miles. Okay, making break times active, making lessons more active, and encouraging active travel. Well, as teachers, you can't necessarily bring about change in active travel, but you can certainly make a difference with active miles with a twist, making the break times and the lessons more active. So my advice to schools would be to look at certain sports and physical activities, such as skipping, or maybe music and dance, or maybe a bit of mindfulness and yoga, or maybe some orienteering. And thought, okay then, so let's try to do the orienteering with the tags, and we put the tags in the trees, and we worked out it was so incredible for children to go from one station to the next. How easy is this? And again, you could use this with Scrabble tiles or laminated cards with numbers or playing cards. There are so many opportunities. And we demonstrated this with Leeds United and their football foundation during one of the lockdowns. Some great links here. Have to involve running around. It could be moving with purpose. Here's an idea from some friends at Big Maths. Can you take photographs of different numbers? Can you get all the numbers 0 to 10 photographed in the classroom? Can you photograph those numbers outside the classroom? Extend it to homework as well. Can you find and record things? Send the children out on scavenger hunts. Make it purposeful, make it fun, make it exciting, make it creative. And share these ideas with the parents and the families at home. Can you learn your times tables, not with tags, but with moves? Can you do the old clapping games to do your 2s, your 5s, your 10s, your 3s, your 6s, your 9s? And give the children a chance to try different moves, and you'll be amazed at how creative they can be. Can you learn your times tables by doing relay races? Yeah, you tend to find that chalk is the domain of early years foundation stage teachers only, but you know what? Send it into Key Stage 1, send it into Key Stage 3, have them running relays, and it's so easy to do, so easy to do once you get started, once you take those initial steps. Being creative. Okay, then we've got the Daily Mile. It was seen as the magic silver bullet, and I was quite I was wowed by the paraphernalia, the advertising, and I could see it. But ultimately, if you look at it through the eyes of a certain child, it might turn certain children off physical activity. So why not do the Daily Mile with a twist? Think about the story that you're looking at, or maybe a film, and get the children to think about a character. So as they're running on their Daily Mile, they're running and chatting with a friend about the character. Can you link it to philosophy for children? Give the children a dilemma. Is it ever all right to steal? The children run around the active mile, the Daily Mile route, and as they're running, they're discussing that dilemma. They get back, they sit down, and they talk about this as a class or as a group. Tap it into what makes the children drive. What are the children's drivers, whether it's Star Wars or Harry Potter? Link the physically active learning to their interests, and that'll bring people on board. When you get asked the question, what's the best physical activity, the best sport? The answer is the one you enjoy doing most. And it's not just outside, it's not just in the hall, it's not in the playground, it can take place. Moving and learning can happen in the classroom, as demonstrated here by a school in Leeds. And the teacher just said, the room is yours to roam. Kind of poetic, really. And the children went from one image on the classroom wall to another, gathering the information. And as Saul said, it's better because you can walk and talk and share ideas. And Jacob just said, if you sat next to the same person, you only get to hear their ideas. This way, you get to hear everybody's ideas. And it comes back to the children. To me, the children are the most underused resource that we have in school. And when bubbles are allowed to mix, think back to Kagan structures and different children, helping younger children, and the magic happens there. This is where the children become the move and learn champions, the physically active learning champions. Give them power, give them responsibility. How do we do it? I mean, I spend, well, prior to lockdown and during lockdowns, I spend a lot of time on the road driving from one school to the next. And my go-to for PE CPD is the PE umbrella. And Ryan, who's just up the road there in Harrogate, broadcasts the podcast, having interviewed various people. And there are so many to dip into, but I'm just going to play one. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed here that the tech works.
If you are looking for a more fulfilling job, a more fulfilling profession, creating more motivated students, making sure your students are engaged and ready to learn, most likely going to lead to higher academic achievement, just a better quality of teaching and learning in both the teaching process and the learning process, give this a try. It is real, it works, it has research to support it, and you will just absolutely love it. Start small and take baby steps, but start and move forward.
How cool is that? So it's a guy called Mike Kazala from America. And again, he talks about movement in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and the impact that it has on the children. So check out that podcast. And I've pressed the wrong button, haven't I? And then we'll hear Mike.
If you are...
Let's leave Mike for now. So there's contacts there in terms of social media, whether or not it's Tagtivate. And again, when I talk about moving and learning, it's not just Tagtivate. Use the Scrabble tiles, use the playing cards, use the online resources. We've already referenced Teach Active there. Go and visit them. To me, it's about picking and choosing, or better still, using everything that's out there that'll make a difference to your children. So I'm going to escape from there. Going to come back into there, and hopefully I'm no longer sharing.
Thanks for that, Bryn. Emma?
Okay.
Sorry, I've managed to get my foot.
She's gone off to make a tea, hasn't she?
Pardon? No, I was having
You've gone off
a
to
quick sip of tea, and then I went to stand up and I got my foot caught in my office chair because I am so glamorous and so together. That's why my camera didn't go on. But thanks for that, Bryn. Really interesting that you worked at Parklands Leeds as well with the lovely Chris.
Yeah, it was fascinating. He asked me to do a CPD session back in September, and I spent hours preparing the slide deck, and he said, no, he says, I just want them outside giggling and laughing. So we took them outside for 2 hours and we played some physically active learning games. He bought the resources on the back of it. He was that convinced it would work.
Yeah.
Friday, he emailed me and said, can you come and work with me for 2 days a week? I said, yeah, I'd love to. However, my schedule's kind of busy. We'll do 1 day a week. So 1 day a week, I was helping him to embed physically active learning in his school. And it's gorgeous. I would have been back there in January, but for lockdown 1. So we're going to go back in there and work with him 1 day a week after Easter holidays. He's yeah.
Because I do quite a lot of work with Ros Wilson, who's one of the governors there, and a good friend of Parkland's as well. So. But no, thank you for that. I think it's a timely reminder that actually, although we're kind of bubbled up and things are different, actually we can still go outside, and outside is a huge resource, underused resource for doing so many aspects of the primary curriculum, and we don't need to be kind of chained to the chairs and chained to the tables, that we can get outside, start thinking a little bit differently about the way that we present the curriculum. So many ideas there, Bryn, thank you.
Because my worry is a lot of teachers will put on a video of a super movers section, and don't get me wrong, super movers is great and all the Go Noodle stuff is great, but that's not necessarily going to help them to learn. It's going to break up the learning, and it's just going to be a case of energizing them for the next part of the learning. When you see those people start to slump over, that's when you put on a video like that, but it's not physical active learning, it's an energizer rather than something that's going to help them to learn.
Yeah, and I think you were so right in that foundation staff, foundation colleagues do this so beautifully in so many aspects of their practice, and it kind of gets lost in Key Stage 1 and 2. So it's talking to our super skilled colleagues in foundation stage about how we can build on that best practice that goes there, and how we can transfer the really good aspects of that practice throughout the key stages in primary. So thank you so much.
There's a lovely moment in the TEDx talk, and we talk about extending play-based learning into Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, and 450 people in the room started applauding, which was great. It was one of those unforeseen moments, but myself and Andy lost our script after that, so we had to leave it very quickly. So, but thank you for the opportunity to share. As I say, I've made copious notes while Emma was talking beforehand, so thank you for creating and curating something very special, so thank you.
Thank you, Bryn. Thank you for sharing your time, your expertise with us, much appreciated. So thanks once again.